I'm echoing all over the place. What was that?
They can't hear you, I guess.
They can't hear? Oh, who can't hear? Tell her to check her computer. I make sure the sound's on, audio's on the computer. Okay, yeah. I always forget to turn the sound on, and it's like people are flapping their lips. And it's like, okay. All right. Okay, so we still have bugs to work out. I figure by the end of this year, we'll have more bugs to work out. So, we'll keep working on it. Okay. But this gives people an option. I mean, fortunately today we're not in Iowa, otherwise we'd all be on Zoom. I've got relatives and friends there under 10 inches of snow. What am I doing? Oh, I want to say Happy New Year. Welcome to the first meeting of the Master Gardeners. I use too much. I love that. Okay.
Turn off your speaker.
It's okay. I'm gonna be done pretty soon, and turn it over to Mike. So I just wanted to welcome everybody to be here. Just remind you to turn your phones off, and just wanted to remind you about the owl. And we'll get to the speaker. And Mike's going to introduce our speaker.
Okay, it's pretty funny. Okay. Anyway, Tammy is a professor at Indiana University Southeast. She is an art professor, fine arts in department. He specializes in growing dye producing plants. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a cave. And she's had a broad experience in dyeing processes, both natural and synthetic. And she loves to share her enthusiasm with her students. I'm sure that they has great college classes. See these college kids getting all this dye and stuff like that. That's probably a lot of fun. And she shows her work internationally. So we're very fortunate to have her. And if you want to find more about her, her website is www.tammymburke. It's real easy to remember. .com. Okay, so everybody remember that. www.tammym, don't forget the M, Burke.com. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Tammy.
Question for you all. If I don't use this microphone, is that okay? Because of this situation that I can't stand to. It's still happening regardless of the microphone.
Can you just turn
Someone mute me on Zoom? I think that's the deal. No,
That's not it. Yeah, try it.
No, wait, that's not doing it.
Mike, turn off the mic.
Still here.
I've never seen it.
What if you turn the mic off?
It's mic off.
Maybe we got
Well,
good places.
I don't think it does any good. Yeah, doesn't do any good.
Oh.
Got some bugs to work out.
Any advice?
Where's the audio on?
Yeah, I mean, you turned off her speaker. I don't know where the sound is coming from, which is really
Doesn't make
puzzling.
any sense.
It's right
I
there.
mean, like, I'm on nothing, and there's could be something else.
I don't know where the sound is coming from.
Is it coming from the owl and it's getting back?
I wonder.
Okay, so, okay, do we have your PowerPoint on?
My PowerPoint is available as a normal document.
Okay, can we like email it to,
I can share it.
oh, we have a screen? Okay, so you can just share.
Well enough. We
Okay.
will just go with that.
There's not that many people on, right?
That's weird, huh?
They all-
Okay, so we're able to
No,
share.
somebody's not.
Look in there, babe.
All right. Hey, everybody.
Now we can't hear her at all. Still can't hear.
We're going to see examples of dyed fabric, which I encourage you to come take a look after you see what's going on up here. And you learn about some dye stuffs and even stuff that you can collect yourself, which is a lot of fun. If you're a person like me who like keeps bags in the car and buckets and things like that, especially in the fall. And I'm going to dye some things. So there are a couple ways to go. I feel like this pot's a little hot. Let me turn it down. But I'll probably burn myself. That would be appropriate. All right. Okay. So here's an example of a very old textile. This is from the 4th or 5th century. And what colors do you see in here?
Orange.
Orange.
Yeah.
Sort of a blue, black. The tan is probably a natural color, but the blue or any kind of a green, mostly, there's indigo in there. Indigo is a substance for which it comes only in a few plants, but there's basically one blue dye of natural dyes, and it's indigo. So anytime you see like an antique rug or a tapestry from hundreds of years ago, and it's blue, then that is indigo dye. I'm going to tend to this little pot right here. Turn it down a little bit. I'm also going to tell you what I have in these pots in just a moment. Okay, the oldest known example of indigo dye is 6,000 years old, and it was found in Peru. And there's the next slide. That's the actual textile. And then there's sort of the diagram of what that would have looked like originally. So people have been doing this for a long, long time. Karen, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking about indigo already. Here's another old example. We have a lot of different colors. So though the most common color for natural dye is yellow, if you do some over dyeing, you can get wonderful secondary colors like orange and green and purple. And I have examples of that over there as well. And here's another piece that is from Africa, and it's from the 8th century, rather regal looking garment. And note that it says wool. To dye naturally, you're going to have to use natural fibers, like you're not going to use polyester or nylon or microfiber as you see it today. It has to be a natural fiber. Whether that be protein, which would be wool or silk, or cellulose, which, as you know, would be cotton, linen, rayon, which is kind of synthesized, but it's still natural in its dye properties. So what is a natural dye? Has anybody done any natural dyeing in here? I see a little hand. Yeah, I'm not saying natural staining, I'm talking about natural dyeing. It's different from like painting something, because painting is a surface covering of color. Dyeing, it bonds to it bonds at a cellular level. So it's in there and it's not going to easily wash out. And it comes from leaves, roots, bark, heartwood, like Osage orange makes a lovely heartwood dye, and blossoms, of course, and nuts. And as I mentioned before, we need natural fibers. So what I have here today, I brought wool yarn from a wonderful sheep farm in Baghdad, Kentucky. It's called Ballyhoo Fiber Emporium. If any of you are knitters or whatever, I highly recommend her wonderful yarn. It dyes beautifully, it looks beautiful. So we have some of that ready to go. And I have some cotton for the indigo. Indigo is different from really any other natural dye. You don't have to cook it, and you don't have to mordant your fabric, which I'll say a bit about that. Mordanting is a chemical process that you use to prepare the material to accept the dye and to hold on to it. Because sometimes if you dye it, it won't be light fast, like it'll just eventually wash out. So I did pre-mordant the wool, because that is a best practice. The wool would still take the dye, but this will make it hold it longer. But indigo, again, outlier, does not need a mordant. So it requires another situation where you have to remove the oxygen from the water. So that's sort of like wizardry. So today, what we have madder in the big pot over here. And we have turmeric. You might be able to smell the turmeric. And I just bought this bag at the Indian grocery store in Clarksville, if you know where that is. Very cheap. Turmeric is a very powerful dye. And you don't absolutely need to mordant that either. It will dye like cotton easily. And that's not to be said for all natural dyes.
What do you mean by mordant?
Mordant is the chemical process of, like, I simmered these little hanks of yarn in a solution of alum acetate. If you get into natural dyeing, you could purchase that. That's what I did. It's a powder, and you sort of simmer it under a boil for about an hour and let it cool, and that's all. So that prepares the cells to accept the dye and to hold on to them. So we have madder, turmeric, and I love to bring, oh, so hot. I need a hot plate up here. Do you know what this is? Onion skins.
Oh.
Yes. So I save my onion skins in the original mesh bag I get my onions in. And then I will either staple the bag shut, or I used a little twist tie, and you simmer it all in there. And this makes it really easy to remove your dye stuff after you've already cooked it out. So I'm going to leave it in here, but otherwise I would pull it out and throw it away, because my water is a lovely shade. And I love that anybody is going to accumulate onion skins. It's very easy to do. And I do choose my onions with that in mind. I'm like, I want the paperiest onions that there are. It's fun to do. Oh, yes, and indigo. I have this very stinking bucket over here, and I'm crossing my fingers that the chemistry is right when I'm ready to do it. Because it's a little, I started working on this vat at like 1:30 this afternoon or 2 o'clock. So I'm really crossing my fingers. Okay, so with that, I've got 3 primary colors here: red, yellow, blue. Does anybody have any experience with color theory? Did you take any art classes? And no, yeah, you had experience with color theory. The idea and the reality is that you can create a full spectrum of color using just red, yellow, and blue, the primary colors. And as you can see, especially the yarns that are over here, there's a pretty much full spectrum of colors created with all natural dyes. Some of my favorites are the greens that you get by taking the yellow and overdying with indigo, or taking indigo dye and overdying it in like a turmeric or something. They're so vibrant. And there's just another example of the spectrum of color. I taught a workshop this past fall at the Waterfront Botanical Gardens where students dyed fabric and then sewed them up into pieced bags. So all of the fabric that you see was white. And so session 1, we dyed fabric, and then sessions 2 and 3, we cut it up, pieced it, and sewed it up into a bag, which was a lot of fun. And why do I show you this? Because unlike me, who has a box full of just random dyed fabric, you can actually do something with it instead of just sort of hoard it and be afraid to cut it like I am. So madder, which is one of the plants we have in the paint box garden, is a nasty, ugly plant. It has like Velcro foliage. It is invasive, or what's the word? Not invasive, but it likes to spread. It's aggressive. It's aggressive. And you want the root for the dye stuff. So as you can see, the roots there are really red. And this year should be the first year that we're primed for harvesting some, because it needs to be 3 years old. So we have that plant. Other common flowers that you can use are coreopsis, and this would be using the blossoms. And generally you need a lot of material. So save it all summer and then, do a little dye pot at the end. And then common little marigolds. They're, little powerhouses of dye. And even Queen Anne's lace, not to be confused with Queen Anne's evil twin. What is it? Poison hemlock? Don't grab that. That is one where you use the blossoms too. And it is another yellow dye. As I mentioned, yellow is the most common natural dye color. Has anyone collected green walnuts in the fall? You can do very cool things. Let me see here. So this is why I keep a 5-gallon bucket in my car in the fall, so that when I'm driving and I see, oh, there are free and unwanted walnuts all over the sidewalk here, and you fill it up and simmer it. And you see on the far side of that table, those dark, rich, beautiful browns. Those are walnut actually with rusty water thrown in, an iron bath, which really darkens the color to that rich espresso color. And I just love it. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
When you first said madder had to be 3 years old, you mean it has to be growing for 3 years, or you dig it up and save it for 3 years?
Oh, having grown for 3 years.
And then you can dig it up.
Yes.
So if you find it out growing wild, you just assume it's been there that long?
I don't know if you'd find madder growing wild around here. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever encountered it just sort of out in the wild. But it's not pleasant, to be honest with you. It really, do you concur that it's unpleasant? Yes, but the color is just wonderful. There's another technique that I have prepared to show you today with the indigo dye. This is shown with walnut dye, but it's called itajime, which is a Japanese term for a clamping technique. And a person folds a piece of fabric in sort of accordion styles, and then you take matching wooden shapes on either side of that, lined up as perfectly as possible, and then clamp it. And I like with C-clamps. So here's one, for example. I'm so glad I did this in advance. There's no way to be able to do this now. And you dye that, pull it out, and as you can see, you get all these wonderful repeats. if you fold very nicely. So the folding is really important. And as I mentioned about indigo, it really is its own unique world, and there's some great documentaries out there about indigo, both a natural sort of scientific approach and sociological approach. It sort of was going to be a cash crop in the United States, but then somebody figured out how to synthesize it. So there you go. No more crops needed. They could just make it in a lab. But there are two primary species, and I buy indigo seeds from this place near Bloomington, Indiana. This is Ricketts Indigo. Roland Ricketts teaches at IU in the fibers department, and his wife, who is Japanese, is an artist, and they grow their own indigo and have their own very specialized indigo dyeing operation. You see this big concrete shape? It is a hole that goes down and down and down. I don't even know how far, but it goes down below the surface of the floor to be a very deep vat of indigo. Again, with indigo, you want to reduce oxygen, so the less surface area that contacts air, the better. So a deep vat is better than a wide, shallow vat. Oh yes, and he had shared, I hope this works. Let's get verification. Oh, you all are not seeing it. Okay, never mind that. Oh, okay. Oh. Sorry, technical difficulty, chapter 4. Let's just go on down here. Okay. And they also, like, as I mentioned, they sell seeds. But when we first put the garden together, I could not get any indigo to start to save my life. Couldn't get it to start. And I reached out to Roland, and he was like, oh, just come on up. I'll just give you some plants. And I did that, and he pulled the little tiny seedlings out of the ground. And it was, the garden was set to open in 2 weeks or something. I'm like, we have to have indigo. And he saved the day, really. So I will continue to buy seeds from them just because of that. Okay, so we have, all right, and if you want to do this yourself, of course, I haven't really done anything that you'd want to do yet. But if you do, there are several great sources for natural dyes and things that are related to natural dyeing. Dharma Trading Company, which is all things fiber arts related, not just natural dyes. Decal dyes, they have very high quality dyes, and a source called Botanical Colors. And if you're gonna make it easy on yourself, if you can't get ballyhoo fiber, go to Joann and get the 100% wool yarn that they have. Protein really takes dye more quickly and easily than cellulose. So as a way to set you up for success, get yourself some wool yarn and use that. It's cheaper than silk too, but silk is another wonderful one. Okay, so.
We're not seeing your slides advance now.
Oh no. This is my slide. Is this the one? Oh, geez. What if I just.
There you go.
There you go.
That's it.
Okay. That is my last slide. So what I'm going to do now, I have 2 shades of yarn, a natural ivory shade here, and a mid-tone, it's a rather warm mid-tone tan. Why would I choose 2 colors to dye? Imagine you're a lonely sheep farmer in the hills, and you have a tan sheep and a white sheep, and you want to make a sweater, and you have some onion skins. If you dyed tan and ivory, and you have your original colors, you now have 4 shades. So, using a couple different colors is just for the point of showing the vast array that people created using natural things. Because when somebody said about that first Exxon example, it looks like black. It could have been a dark fleece that was dyed in an indigo or something that would make it look black, because very dark blue and dark brown will give you a black, sort of a natural black. And turmeric has a very powerful dye. We're gonna drop this in here. Drop that in there. Also, I should mention that the yarn is already wet, which means that, well, you know what it means, it's already wet, but sort of on a structural level, it's ready to receive more liquid and what the liquid has. So if you just put dry yarn in there, number one, it's gonna float, and you wanna kind of squeeze it down to get the air bubbles out. So it's always, oh, that's just boiling away. Oh, it's so hot too. Whew, okay, so I have this. This is the matter. And then the real fun stuff is when I actually start pulling this stuff out and you see what color you're going to get. But they do start to sort of act right away. So let me see, let me get a hold of something. Okay, so there's a hint. That's the ivory. Now, a lot of that is dye particles that will wash out, but that's where we're going, okay? So isn't that a lovely, like, historical red?
Yeah.
It really is. It really is historical red. So let me turn this guy back up a little bit. Okay. And the turmeric, as you can see, very intense. I have to put it on there. And our onion skins. Ooh, look at that beautiful orange. Isn't it? See, it's so fun. And just think about it, like onion skins, so easy. And I will tell you, so if you do collect them, I honestly have a kitchen garbage bag full of onion skins. Make sure you don't close it up, they'll get moldy. So leave it open, and they smell like onions. I'm gonna try to get myself some length. Let's check out this indigo dye vat. I really hope that it's ready to go. Okay. In a perfect world, our liquid would be green. Because when it's green, it's kind of green, not as green as I'd like. We're gonna try it out. Okay. When I do this, I'm gonna put the mic down, but before I do that, I'll tell you that I'll first, this is dry. What is the enemy of indigo? Oxygen. So we're gonna put it and submerge it in the water and squeeze the air out. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and put these in here too. And I'm gonna put the open flap side up even, so air escapes. So they're just gonna hang out in there and get saturated. So I really hope this works. Okay. How are we doing on time? Okay.
You're fine.
All right. So, all right, I'm gonna put the mic down, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this out and I'm going to carefully, like, swan dive it into the water. Again, oxygen is the enemy. You don't want to take bubbles with you. You don't want to splash and stir. And then hopefully when I pull it out, it's going to be green and it will turn blue right in front of your eyes.
Okay.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. All right, I'm going to set this down on my gloves on. These are brand new. Okay. There's nothing like dirty workwear to give you credibility. Okay, so.
I'm not gonna wring this out. I'm just gonna let the water be in it. And my folds are facing this way, so. Fingers crossed. Swish it around gently. Okay, I see some green. Also, the indigo smells really bad, which is what you want, actually. Okay. Sort of green, okay. Okay, I think this will suffice to give you some wow. All right, so it's kind of green. That means that the oxygen, you can see it start to turn blue. We'll dip this a few times in order to sort of get some actual depth of color. We'll just let this hang out right here for now. Thank God. Okay. Let me check on these guys.
Okay, so it was green when it came out. I was so thrilled, really. And it does turn blue over time, but the green shade is what you want to see. You can also buy pretty easy to use indigo kits at Artisan Craftsman Supply, maybe Joann Fabrics, but I'm not certain about that. I'm just doing a little mental check here. Okay, so I'm going to keep on with the good old indigo. Next, I'm going to do one of the Itajime, the clamp dyes. And I feel optimistic, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's do a little heart. Actually. And I'm just gently swishing it around so that the indigo fluid gets moved around in there. Because a lot of times with the Itajime, you can get bubbles in the folds. So as much opportunity you can create for air to get out and water to get in is a good thing. Okay. Okay. Oh, the mess. And as you see this kind of grainy stuff, that is like indigo powder and it will wash off. It's right here. Okay, we got another one. This was definitely a meeting to come to rather than to be, in my opinion. Just really trying to get. Now, okay, so I'm going to do something that you'll think is crazy. Because it looks crazy. I'm going to. So we'll let those sit a little bit and then I'll put them in again. I'm gonna tend to our things over here and maybe show you some of.
I'll show you some of the samples, like what I've been doing. So the Itajime that I just did, for example, this is a piece of fabric that was dyed in that way, with a smaller heart-shaped clamp. And hearts are not traditional, but it's a lot of fun. And in 2023 and 2024, you can get all kinds of wooden shapes. Here's one that I used, just a circle, which is traditional. Isn't it beautiful? I love it. There's another thing that a person can do, which is to use washable Elmer's glue. Has to be washable, and create a glue resist. So you have to get it to dry, and then because indigo isn't cooked like these others, it's a quick dip and it's cold. So it's going to resist enough for you to get a design. Here's another super fun one. Again, 2020 wooden shapes. Got little bunnies in there. So indigo, think about 6,000 years ago. Do you think that they would imagine a person in the future putting animal shapes on with the flick of a switch? This is also, this is a piece of linen dyed with walnut in that same method. This is a great example of an over dye. This is walnut dyed over turmeric. So it was yellow to begin with. And then I folded it in half and zip tied it. And then dyed that in the walnut, which is why you get the yellow line, because the yellow was protected from the dye. And this was a pale indigo over dyed in walnut, which is maybe my favorite. This is a dye called sappanwood, but look at the color. This reminds me so much of like 1950s high school satin, red satin jackets. And this is the same dye, just later on. Like this is a very concentrated dye, and then this was maybe after I had dyed 3 pieces. So it's nice to see what an undertone gives you. Let's see, what do we have here? This is chestnut, I think. Believe it or not, yes. Once you dye with nuts, you're like, what other nut can I dye with? Surely they all provide something. And they can also be used as a tannin. A tannin can act as a natural mordant. But I just resort to science for mordants. So let's take a look at our indigo. I'm sorry, turmeric. Very, very intense, as you can see. Even the spoon stays stained. Color and allows it to bond into the fibers of the fabric, if that makes sense. Now, there are, and it also speeds it up, because theoretically you could throw some yarn into a vat of madder and leave it, especially out in the sun or something, and you would get dye color. It'd probably be a little less intense, but it'd be a nice passive way to get some color. So this does speed it up and gives you sort of more bang for your buck. Very good question.
Ancient times, do you think they boiled?
Oh yeah, I'm sure they surely they did. And don't you wonder how they stumbled upon this stuff? I do think about it as being very interesting. Okay, let's give another, yes, question?
So, yeah, or does it depend on what kind of color you want?
Both, yes, and about 45 minutes to an hour. But if you pull it out sooner, you can have like a nice pastel shade. So it really does depend on how deep you want it to be. If you want really intense colors, you want to use a lot of dye material and a longer time.
And then for the drying process, how long does it take?
Not long. After you would pull it out of here, you would want to wash it to remove the particles and excess dye. I use a product called Synthropol. It's a detergent specifically designed to remove excess dye, and it doesn't have any extra perfumes or anything in it. And then I just let it air dry, and the yarn dries very quickly, but it's just like anything else really. But you want to wash it well to remove any excess dye, especially if you're going to wear it or carry it. Actually, this t-shirt that I'm wearing is an indigo dyed shirt. I thought I'd be cold, so I wore an undershirt, but didn't need that. Okay, so let's give these indigos another dye. How much time do I have?
Oh, 15.
Quarter after.
Ah, okay. All right, let's take a look at these real quick, because the reveal on the indigo is gonna be like, mic drop. Okay, let's look at these.
Also, people who do a lot of indigo dyeing, especially traditionally, they don't use gloves. And the only thing that stays blue are their fingernails. So Roland Ricketts that I just talked about, he has, the root of the fingernail is dark blue. Okay, let's go with this guy again. And again.
Are you putting it again to make it darker?
Yes. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
How'd you get interested in this?
Good question. I don't remember the first dye I experimented with. I had done synthetic dyes, like your average store dye, which was a lot of fun. I probably did onion skins just because that's so accessible. And then, you get into trying out other things. And also I collected walnuts from the IUS campus and other places that I've seen them. And it's a very cozy activity, believe it or not, to do that in the fall. It smells good. And then you can make some beautiful things out of it. So I don't think I answered your question, because honestly, I don't remember.
How far back?
Not that far, just maybe 3 years or so, maybe 4. I might have started when I was in college, in my graduate program. This guy out.
Artistic before.
Oh, always, yes. I have a a Master of Fine Arts, Bachelor of Fine Arts, and it sounds very naive, but it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. Despite not always having done it. Okay, give us another dip.
What was your artistic medium before the, design?
I have worked a lot with fabric. I sew a lot. I sew a lot now. And, but I started out as a painter really because that was what I thought art was. But I work in 3-dimensional things a lot, and I use fabric a lot, as I mentioned. I guess I don't think of it so much as a before and after as an expansion. You know what I mean? Like I still do all those things, in addition to that. Okay, I have one more indigo. I forgot. This is. Okay. Just gonna put this in, soaking wet.
So the only natural dyes you do are plant-based?
Cochineal is technically a bug,
Yeah,
and I've used that, but I wanted to keep it simple and also just stick to plants.
that's the one that gives you red, right?
Yes, a beautiful pinky purple. Depending on the chemistry, you can kind of swing it warm or cool. But yeah, they're little bugs. They're gray in the bag. And then as soon as you wash them, or put them in there and kind of crush them up, it's like beet juice. Speaking of beets, fugitive dye, meaning it doesn't stick. So people ask me all the time about, oh, do you use beets? Do you use, you name it, natural occurring staining stuff? And it's not very good. It's kind of fun, but it's not the most permanent dye. Okay. I'm submerging this in water because I saw an absolute indigo expert do it. And if Michelle Garcia is going to do it, I'm going to do it because this is normal water. It's normal from the tap. So what does it have in it? It has oxygen in it. And oxygen is what closes the door on indigo and fiber being bound together. So by putting it in water, and the water's full of oxygen, I will get into all the crevices that air is not necessarily gonna get to. Yes,
What about berries?
berries, like pokeberries, similar.
Blueberries.
Fugitive, like this is real strong. I mean, if you had a lot of them and you really prepared your fiber to accept that, it would diet and it'd probably be there for a while, but it would fade and turn gray. It's sad because it sounds so great, you know, a blueberry dyed whatever. But it ends up being not the dream that you had. Okay. Now, I did do a fun little thing with this. And let's see if you all can recognize it. Yes. So,
So you use glue for that?
I use glue, yes. Good old washable glue and, this'll, you know, we'll let this go. I could probably dip it a second time. And then once it's, you just get the glue will wash off. And then you have your nice fun design or whatever.
So you put the glue on that design?
Yes. And then let it dry. And then I did use a hair dryer to get it to dry. It was not really wanting to, dry all the way.
Now,
All
if you
right.
would take
let's take a
that,
look.
if you would take that and put it in your fire pot, would that just make a blend of the color, or will that totally destroy that color? Or give
put
you
it
a
in-
new color, or?
You would get, it would over dye in with, like, if I put it in the pot with the turmeric, it would turn green, like, not green like it is now. It would become green as opposed to blue.
Do you wait till it dries and then do it, or you put it in wet?
You would want to make sure you wash it out really well. But wet is great. Wet is great, but you want to wash it out. And it would be easier to open up these. So I'll do that. It's messier than I thought it was gonna be.
That's such a level.
Before your very eyes.
But see, some of that little craggly stuff in the middle is where it didn't quite reach in there. Either the fabric wasn't quite wet enough there or what have you. And also you see how the blue is running into the white? Doesn't matter because if it's blue, it will no longer work. It has to be green for it to
So would you normally wait till it was totally dry before you took it apart?
I would normally do this, but then like give it a rinse to get excess out, but water not being the most flammable thing, and this is just for fun, you know. Oh, and this is another, I tried something special out with the rabbit. It tends to be better along, you know, where the actual piece of wood is. Let's. What a mess. Yeah. Okay, all right, got one more thing to do, and I need my scissors. Okay. And this is zip ties. I use them because you can really get a tight bind. And then you get very stark lines with that. And I'm always afraid I'm gonna really hurt myself. Fear is good. Never want to not be afraid. All right. Looks like there's still a little bit. Needs to. Okay. Not bad, not bad. So, there are a lot of ways to do some fun things with, natural dyes. Again, it doesn't have to even cost much money. Foraging is a lot of fun. I mean, walnuts are really easy because you can pick up so many. Most people think of them as a nuisance. So
they don't mind if you take them off their sidewalks or whatever. Does anybody live in Jeffersonville? Few people. So I don't live too far from Market Street, or technically, well, it's way far east Market Street, but there's a tree there and nobody wants those walnuts. And it's very busy, but I park on the side and I have my 5-gallon bucket and traffic is whizzing by, but I'm getting the best walnuts. And you also get them green and try to get ones that are not cracked. If they're brown, it'll still work, but it's a big mess. I made the mistake, first time I did it, I picked up nasty, crappy, grudgy walnuts, and yes, it worked, but it was just horrible. So the green ones, they stay together, they're easy to strain out, you get a nice clean bath. I guess I ought to pull these out. I don't really have a thing to put them in. Ooh, look at those colors. That's, obviously 2 different colors, the tan. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna just do that. Just to give it a little bit of a rinse. So there you go. It was ivory and tan. And now it's burgundy and, Italian red. Turn this off. Okay. And then we'll take a look at the turmeric. I'm gonna put this inside the lid.
Once you take it out, it's not gonna get on whatever you put it on.
No, and the thing is natural dyes don't really affect plastics. So it's not gonna do much. So this hasn't even cooked for the full amount that I would do it, and we already have a lot of color. And yes, I did choose powerful dyes. I'm not stupid. I'm not gonna choose, well, indigo's temperamental. But I set myself up for success, just like I hope to set you up for success. But look at this gorgeous orange, red orange. Any questions? Yes.
What is RIT dye from?
I have never used RIT dye. I don't poo-poo it because anytime somebody wants to experiment and try something out, I'm all for it, because I also think it could be a gateway for more nuanced dyes. It would be a synthetic dye, and they're readily available, and I've seen some good results. I've never personally used it, but sure, bring it on. Yes.
So that whole yard, and then put the whole skein in there?
I don't. Also because I want to dye different colors. So this was 150 yards. And I pulled off, I do this thing around my elbow, and I did it like 13 times. So it's maybe 26 feet. And you want to sort of do this figure 8 tie on it so that it stays in a loop and doesn't just become a ball of spaghetti. And then you want to pre-mordant it with the alum acetate and then dye it. But it will dye without the alum, but the alum is like your insurance policy for natural dyeing. I actually got shamed by another natural dyer once because I said, I never use Mordant with protein with silky wool. And this person was like, well, you should. And I was like, oh gosh, well, okay. I was like, I've had great success with not using Mordants, but I feel obligated to tell you to use Mordants, so. I don't think I use Mordants on the red, by the way. Yes.
On those, if you didn't rinse those out
Mhm.
and let them dry, what would be the disadvantage or problem with that?
Once they are out and they start to turn blue, it's almost, think of the dye particles as going to sleep. Because once they're like yellow, the green liquid is active and dye worthy. Once it's blue, it's like asleep and settled. So that's why I don't worry about blue liquid leaking into my white areas because they're not going to stick. Even you saw me like wipe it on my pants. It's not going to stick because there's too much oxygen. What happens is the particles fall out of solution whenever oxygen is in the water. And so if they're in the air, they're just like, they're not going to work. So if I wanted greater color, you dip it multiple times. That's recommended because otherwise you have what's called crocking, which means that the color will kind of brush off. Like if you look at a pair of denim jeans and the edges, that's technically crocking, where the edge turns white. And that's the indigo color kind of rubbing off. So it's better to layer over moderate colors than to do one big dip in indigo. So who's ready to do some natural dyeing at home? Here's an important thing. You want to have dedicated pots. Yeah. Now, if you boiled onion skins, you could probably cook in that pot, but just as a practice, have dedicated pots and spoons. And I do. And so you don't want to, cook your Thanksgiving soup in here after you use it for natural dyeing, because it's just bad practice. I'm not sure how to wrap up now. What was it? What you expected? Oh, good. I hope so.
Do you have a question? When you use the walnuts, do you husk the walnuts or you just put it in?
I don't. Some people do, but I'm like, why go to that effort? I boil them as they are, and then squirrels love it. I pour them out in the after I use them. But note, squirrels prefer fresh walnuts to boiled ones because I didn't use all my walnuts this year, so I dumped out the unboiled ones and the boiled ones at the same time, and the fresh ones went way faster. Like they all went before they lowered themselves to eat the boiled ones, but they were still pretty happy about it. Yes.
There are better nuts, which is a different type of walnut. Would that give a different color? Is that the same? Are you familiar with that?
Did you say better?
It's called a feather nut.
Oh,
It's more of an oblong.
I don't know this nut. Does it have a similar kind of a husk?
You think it's like a walnut with the hull and things, but it's more of an oblong shape, and it's a little bit different, lighter color, more of a tan.
Oh, I would love to try it. I've never heard of this. But other nuts do give colors, and but walnut is like the most powerful, beautiful brown, warm chocolate tones. But I do like for people to imagine like why people did this. They discovered they could, who knows how. I think with indigo, it was a combination of, a pretty and some leaves, if you know what I mean. That somebody was like, oh, everything around here is blue. And they figured out the chemistry to make that happen. How did these people discover this? I don't know. And I'm sure it took hundreds of years. But they chose to do these things. They chose to enhance their worlds by using plants to color things, which I feel that's very connecting over the thousands of years, those people still wanted pretty things too, or symbolic things. It's not just about pretty. It might, equate to status in the community, whatever colors you have that you get to wear. So, I love the science of it, although I'm not an expert, but I really love that through line to ancient people. And, we're not that different. We're pretty much the same in a lot of ways. Same people, different rules. That's the way, different tools, different rules. So now I've made such a huge mess. It's going to be fun to clean up. You all have a meeting to do. Is that right? Like legitimate business. So I will stop now and let someone else take over as I think about things. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We really appreciate it.
I just want to add, the paint box garden is an official Master Gardener project now. So if you want to get some hours, so you can go down there and see how that works. So, oh, it's right downtown. If you know where the art center is, Jeffersonville.
The painted water tower.
Yeah, the painted water tower that has the weird fish-like stuff, the big thing.
NOCO.
That's called NOCO. Yeah, if you're familiar with NOCO, it's right there. So.
Yeah.
Right, and it's on the alley side.
Yeah.
Of the building, and honestly, she's looking mighty shabby right now, and I think somebody is living in her.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Was,
Yeah.
yeah. I went by the other day. They
Had
were not
problems
there
with
now.
that.
But, yeah.
It's a big different thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but spring is coming.
I turned it off, turned back on.
All right, let's thank our speaker again. Okay, so let's take a short break in here. 7 minutes, you got 7 minutes. And then we're back for the meeting. Hello. Good. Sorry, guys, I got delayed. In starting the meeting. I apologize. And you're going, well, we don't really care. All right, wait a minute. Too much in my hands. So the meeting is officially starting at 7:50, okay? So the first thing we have up is the approval of the minutes from November, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be November minutes,
Yeah, we don't have.
because, well, we also had December minutes, but they were very, very brief. And they were both in the newsletter. Okay, the secretaries want me to handle it for this one since, yeah, we're in a transition. So everybody read the minutes, right, from November and December? Oh, good. Okay, should we, is it okay to just bundle them as, okay. So we need a motion to approve. Okay, so we have a motion to approve.
But wait a minute, who is it?
Jane Archer.
Second.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks for the third. Okay. Okay, so all those in favor of approving the minutes as they are, vote aye.
Aye.
All those disapprove, same sign. Okay. Thank you. Okay, well, those are passed. Kathy, oh, there you are. Okay.
So do I need to do anything other than editing?
Yeah, they said that, didn't you say that they had her stuff on another computer?
Yeah, well, Lisa has it. I think Lisa has.
I got something different.
Okay,
Oh,
okay. Yeah, whatever,
I guess, Tammy, can we use your?
Do whatever you need.
Okay.
or can we just plug it into the TV?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Okay, so,
Like, you're gonna have to go pull it up for her then.
Yeah.
hang on, it's gonna get there. Technology makes our life better, doesn't it now?
I got it.
Kathy, you want the microphone?
Yeah, there we go.
That'll at least disconnect to my laptop.
Come on. Yes.
No.
All right. I will.
Move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I'll vamp a little bit here. Okay, onward. As you know, there's a couple of, signups on the desk over there for those who are here. And for those who aren't here, how are they going to sign up, Lisa? I jumped.
It's okay. So first of all, to everybody on Zoom, sorry about the confusion early on, but I think we got it straightened out. You just have to be patient with us because I am not a technology person. I just happened to be at the wrong meeting at the wrong time. So we still, some spots open to bring snacks to the Master Gardener training. It starts this Thursday and it's going to be every Thursday until April 11th or 18th. It's right before Pollinator Day. So if you want to contribute a snack, it can be homemade at Purdue. Remember, when we come back to have snacks here, it has to be store-bought here, but at Purdue, we can have homemade. Let me know. If you're not here, I'll let you, by email, and I can tell you what dates we have open. And we're also, believe it or not, starting to solicit volunteers for Pollinator Day. It's going to be here before we know it. So if you're on Zoom and you'd like to volunteer, shoot me a email. Let me know if you want to volunteer in the morning, in the afternoon, or all day. And we're also collecting $5 for a t-shirt. Connie, can you bring me the purple? The color is going to be purple this year. You see it on the owl?
No.
This is large. White lettering.
Yeah, it's gonna be purple with white lettering this year.
Yeah.
And that's the same shirt that we've had in the past. Completely optional. They're $5 a piece. You do not have to have a Pollinator Day shirt to volunteer, and you're welcome to wear another color if you prefer one of your older t-shirts. And also, we have tote bags again this year. Once again, $5. If you want any of them, shoot me an email and I'll get you on the list. That's it. And if the Zoom people have any questions, shoot me a question in the chat.
All right, thank you. Back to Ken.
This is the end of the year treasurer's report. So in December, we started out with $18,339.38 and had 4,700-ish in receipts and 3,100, you don't care about the details. And we ended up with a cash balance of $19,916, which if you look at the column to the right, it's almost exactly what we started the year with. And so that's a compliment to projects who stayed within or below their requested budget, and the good work that the fundraisers did, and some accidental fundraisers like the holiday dinner ended up making a little profit. And shout out to the Bluebird team that gets lots of grants and donation money that helps fund their project. So if anybody wants more gory details, just email me and I'll be happy to send you all the gory.
Excellent. Yes, I also want to extend my congratulations to all the projects for staying within budget and
Just pull it.
we're in decent shape. Okay, the end of the year report is going to be, is I think under audit, if I'm not mistaken, at this point in time. Okay, next up on our agenda is Debbie with the Seed Saver and Pollinator shout out. And would you have that?
Okay, so we are started with seed saving getting all of our seeds that you all have saved and given to us and the seeds that have been donated from local businesses. We're getting those in smaller packaging, so there'll be enough for you guys, Pollinator Day, all the different places where we go to do presentations. The library, Clarksville and Galena both have a seed box that we take care of. But I wanted to let you all know that I thought about the fact that a lot of you do start your own plants. Well, you need the seeds a little bit early for that. So at the March meeting, that will be a meeting where we will all be here in person. I will have what seeds that I can provide for tomatoes, eggplant, peppers, and some of the herbs, because I know anybody that wants to get those started will need them. So that will be at the March meeting. And then after we get our seeds together for Pollinator Day and maybe have Pollinator Day, because we do give out a lot at that event, maybe in May, then I'll be able to bring some of the summer seeds, like the beans and the squash and all of that. So that's the seed saver thing. Now for Pollinator Day, our team has started to meet. We're starting to get all of the craft projects together that the kids do. There's a lot of work. There's expense with getting the materials. There's a lot of work with getting all of that done. And Valerie Steinlander and myself, we're working on trying to get donations as we have in the past. So we contact businesses that have helped us in the past. We're getting that all started. In the past, you all have helped us out with shout outs. So we will be collecting shout outs at the March meeting. So if you would like to throw in a couple of dollars, we're going to just batch that this year and kind of make that a donation from our Ho Sunnyside group is how we're going to do it. Yeah. If you know of anyone that has a business that we could contact about possible support, if you will email me that information, we'll get a letter out to them. I will try to call, most of them, we call on in person unless it's just better for the business to do it by email. So we look forward to being able to keep this a family-free event. It has grown so much. I think we're expecting around 1,500, 1,600 people maybe this year. We're doing crafts for 500 kids, right, Lisa? Yeah. We're preparing those nice butterfly feeders, the hummingbird feeders, all that kind of thing. So we can only keep it a free event if we can collect enough money from the community. So if anybody's got any kind of ties at all with someone that I could contact, if you'll let me know, that would be great.
There you go. All right, great. Thank you very much. And don't forget to sign up to volunteer. I think we run on volunteers. I think last year there was like 150 volunteers. We wouldn't survive without volunteers. Okay. All right, so we did a little jumping around this meeting. So just a few more things. We have some badges to give out. The first one is Kathy Strecker. We've got a gold badge. Congratulations. $1,000 volunteer work. Yay. And Doug Archer has a silver. Congratulations. And we have Deborah Cover. Sorry about that.
No, it's over. That's right.
Okay, okay. Well, then I'm totally confused, but that's okay. With her advanced badge. Congratulations. All right, congratulations to all three of you. Thank you very much for being here. All right, just a few more closing comments. I'll begin nagging you already about recording your hours, okay, your education hours and your volunteer hours. Don't forget, we, besides the Pollinator Day, we also have a tomato festival coming up this year on August, I think it's August 18th, but you can join the committee. The next committee meeting is going to be January 18th at 1:30. You can, join the meeting either in person or Zoom, whichever you prefer. I think one of our primary things at this next meeting is going to be determining exactly which tomatoes to grow for the tomato testing and tasting and all that type of stuff. And there's gonna be lots of ways you can contribute, not only your hours, but also your tomatoes and whatever else you might grow. Okay. Just to remind you, our next meeting, which is on February 6th, that one is actually going to be total Zoom. We have somebody coming in from Indianapolis via Zoom. You will get an email just reminding you of that. And also, I wanted to let you know that the Zoom link that was used tonight for this meeting is the same one we're gonna be using all year long. Okay, the link won't change, which will make it a whole easier, and we'll keep sending you the link so you know. But if you lose an email and can't find it, go back to an old email and click on the link. Let's see, the education hours tonight, Madam Secretary, do we have
Oh, I'm sorry, 1 hour.
1 hour of education, and then the volunteer time?
15 minutes.
Okay, 15 minutes, so, that translates to recording it at 0.25? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, so you got that, so an hour for education and 0.25 for volunteer times. And we do have some door prizes, but we'll do that after we adjourn. So do I have a motion for adjournment? Okay, Kathy, moves for adjourning, and second? Okay, Jane Archer seconds it. All those in favor say aye. All those who want to stay here say same sign. Okay, so